Yo, what's up, guys? It's Slippery Pete. Tune in, check it out. I had a great time on DroTV. You'll definitely get a laugh.
Welcome back to My First Time, the show where our guests get to tell their story of the first time they got high on marijuana. I'm your host, Mike Freeman. Today, I'd like to welcome our guest, Slippery Pete Barrett. What's happening, Pete?
What's going on, man? I love this concept. When you first reached out, I did a little bit of my homework, and I had a couple good laughs watching everybody share their first time, or just some good stories, character people here.
Yeah. Lots of great characters. You can find more of Pete on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We'll have all the links down below. So Pete, please give our audience a little history, what you got going on, where you're located.
Yeah, for sure. So professional MMA fighter, UFC veteran, currently doing all the right things to try to get back to that level. But born and raised on the South Shore, Massachusetts, which is, south of Boston. Went to high school here, ended up in Colorado for college, was a career athlete, did the football, a little bit of baseball, lots of lacrosse, lots of wrestling, went to college, did that whole thing and kind of found my way back into martial arts and started getting involved with a kickboxing gym that also had like a light jiu-jitsu program, but primarily a striking gym. And one thing led to another. The technique started to come along. Like I said, I wrestled all through high school. So the pros out of that camp decided to utilize me to get ready for some fights because they liked my wrestling paired with my striking. And it really just like caught my attention and gave me something that I thought I could, really push towards, develop and be successful with. Mind you, this is all while I'm graduating from college with a business degree and a marketing degree, and all of the teachers that I had talked to and told them about, I'm like, hey, I'm really enjoying this thing. Reminds me of everything that I loved about, high school sports and this and that. And, all of the professors, all of them said, Peter, you're a semester away from, a pretty decent college degree. Like, go fight. That degree is not going anywhere. You have all the credentials to get a job when you want to do, like when you're ready for, like a sit down desk job, like go push into fighting for a little bit. And it didn't happen necessarily linear, like in a linear way. I ended up, figuring life out, moving home, and then getting really involved with mixed martial arts and just, put my foot on the gas, and I haven't looked back since. I had the opportunity to fight on the Contender Series, Dana White Contender Series. I beat the top prospect out of South Korea. It was a great fight at 155 pounds. That got me a bid into the UFC. Unfortunately, I lost 2 fights throughout COVID, not while having COVID, but the COVID timeframe. And they're pretty heartless up there. They'll cut you right away. So I've put together 3 dominating finishes in a row, and I know this will come out later, but I've got another fight coming up this weekend where I look to make it 4 finishes in a row. And this kid that I'm fighting, he's an up and coming prospect, 5-1 out of Maine, and just really a way for me to put my foot on the local scene and let everybody know I'm the top dog.
Back just Peter, keep it going with the knees. That's another one, and Peter wins it. I can't disagree with that stoppage whatsoever. Mo Al-Kanani weathered as much punishment as any human can possibly take.
So that's kind of my fighting in a nutshell. If you guys want to push into it, I got a lot of coverage through the Contender Series because my own personal story is a little darker than just getting into the UFC. I unfortunately, within a 6-month time frame, back I think it was 2017. And yeah, at this point it's so far, but it just seems like it was so long ago. My brother accidental overdose in fentanyl, and then that was in July, and then in September my dad had a heart attack. And unfortunately, I'm the second oldest of 11. I'm happy it was me. I actually had to go check on my dad and found him. Thankfully, it wasn't one of my younger siblings or sisters or anything like that. But it rocked my world. I went from being 8-1, 9-1 top prospect in New England, falling to like a 9-3 and 9-4 career like record. And within MMA, that's like, I'm pretty much old news at that point. Nobody's looking at me. Nobody thinks there's anything coming out of me that would produce me to the next level. Lo and behold, I dealt with a lot of demons, got back up on top, won a big local fight in the local region, got onto the Contender Series, and then put myself into the UFC. So that whole story got covered a lot in depth while I was fighting on or getting ready to fight on the Contender Series. So I don't have an issue talking about it, but if you guys want to dig into it, it's a little bit darker. I would say go look up some of the Contender interviews, and you can get a first eye glimpse into that hell that I went through for a few years, kind of like a hero's journey, if you will.
Sure. Yeah, I've heard you tell. Well, I probably read the story back when it was going down. I think that's when you and M. linked up to do the No Excuses video. Was around that time. So, man, there's a lot I'd like to get into, but first, let's talk about the first time you got high. I know before you said your buddy sold you some swag potpourri.
Oh yeah.
So I know you got a good first time story in the, first getting into weed. So I guess why don't you indulge us in that story, Pete?
So the quick of the first time, I thought I was a hot shit. I was like in junior high, and I was going to go impress my older brother. And I was like, "Yo, check this out!" And he takes it out of my hands. He looks at it. He's like, the language that we used back then was a lot different than it is now. But what is wrong with you? Like, someone conned you, dude. Like, what is, you're a moron? Essentially, is what it came down to. I'm like, oh no, I had so-and-so go get it for me. This is what he came back with. He's like, dude, he probably emptied the potpourri container out from behind his mom's toilet into a bag and sold it to you. And I was like, oh, all right. Well, I'm looking for some weed if you know anybody, because I think I'm going to enjoy this. Fast forward to me kind of getting my bearings in the weed game and how to find the appropriate things. It was after school one day, junior high still, 8th grade. I know, so young, like 13 or 14 years old. I was up at my buddy's house after school, and literally, like, where I grew up, my mom could step out the back door and literally like yell up into the woods, and we would hear her like, time to come home for dinner. And so after school, we go meet up with this dude who's, a high school kid. We ride up to a car on our bicycles, like a shady little drug deal that you would see in a dare class. And we're like, hey, sir, do you have any weed? You have any pot? I think that's what I called the kid. He was like, don't ever call it pot again. And I was like, whoa, all right. So we get back to my buddy's house, and we're out in the woods smoking weed. And I hear my mom yelling. I'm like, white as a ghost. Like, oh my God, this is what anxiety feels like. I have to go pretend like I'm not really fucking high right now. And this is like still like giggle fits. Like, I'm 13 years old. Like, maybe I've smoked weed like 3 or 4 times, and I think I'm a hot shit, and I've got plenty of time. And my mom calls me home early, and I don't remember what type of soup she made. And this was before I knew what clear eyes were. So I get home, we sit at a round table. It's my mom, my little brother Max, my older brother Cole, and me here. And she made, let's say, we'll call it chicken noodle soup. She made chicken noodle soup for dinner, homemade chicken noodle soup. She's a great cook. So I'm sitting there trying to eat soup, high as shit. My eyes are squinty, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like missing my mouth every other bite. And my brother's going, Mom, my older brother, total dick. We used to be worst enemies. He's like, Mom, look at him. He was up at Tim's house. He's fucking high. And I'm like, what are you doing, bro? I thought we were on the same team. What are you, Mom, he's high. Look at him. I'm like, Mom, I'm not high. I don't know what he's talking about. And my mom was like, so naive. Like, my kids are too young. They would never. No, he's not high. I was high as a fucking kite. And my brother was trying to throw me under the fucking bus from day one. He was like, oh, no. I'm not letting him get away with this. This is too ridiculous. And he put me on the stand with my mom to my left and him to my right. And I'm just sitting there, white as a ghost, squinty-eyed, like, I'm fine, Mom, I swear. Like Fire Marshal Bill, the super dry mouth and whatnot. It was hilarious.
So it sounds like she believed you more than your brother if she...
Yeah, I don't, she kind of didn't want to, like, acknowledge it. And she was like, Cole, knock it off. Your brother's fine. And I was like, I don't think I pulled that off, but I'm going to ride this one out. We're just going to let this be. I'm not asking any questions. And it was horrible. It was like the first time I had dealt with anxiety.
Yeah. Now people treat anxiety with cannabis, you know?
Exactly. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to slow down and let a little bit of the fuck it come out, and you know that the everything will lay where it needs to fall.
Yeah, yeah. So I'd love to get into like your training routine. Why don't you walk us through a day in the life of Slippery Pete, training and nutrition? I'd like to know what you eat from when you wake up, what you consume, and like a typical day in the gym.
Sure. So let's see. Today's Tuesday, and today's my big teaching day. So I'll give you more of a training day. So Mondays, Monday through Thursday, I teach like a cardio combat fitness class. It's like a heavy bag class with some body weight exercises from 7:30 to 8, Monday through Thursday. So I get up at 5:30. So we're gonna get into the nitty gritty because I spent some time doing a little like listening to people within Ayurvedic medicine speak and the benefits of all these things. So wake up in the morning, I go out to the sink. I don't drink tap water because that's fucking gross. But I get a nice cup of filtered water, put some salt in it, swish my mouth and swallow that. So all that bacteria that's in your mouth, that first thing in the morning, if you swallow that tells your insides, all right, it's time to wake up. That'll usually get you to go sit on the toilet within about 5 minutes of drinking that water. So if anybody's having a hard time getting regular in the morning, head right, get some nice filtered water. Try not to drink bottled water because believe it or not, plastic will fucking kill you too.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to get some nice filtered water, remineralize it with some like regimen salt or a pink salt or an ancient sea salt. You don't want the stuff coming out of the ocean right now. Again, back to the plastics. But you want to remineralize some filtered water, rinse your mouth and swallow it. Go do your business on the toilet, and that'll get you regular there. Now, I like to double that up. I also use pulling oil every morning. So that's when you use I think it's a sesame, coconut, and one other Ayurvedic, nut oil or seed, not necessarily seed oil. They do use a sesame, which seed oils are terrible for you, but it's a slow process one made by a brand that I trust. So you don't get all that rancid shit in there. But for beginners, coconut oil is all you need. You want to put like a teaspoon to a tablespoon of coconut oil in your mouth, let it melt, and just rinse. And rinse like it's mouthwash for anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. And what that does is it pulls all the toxins and poisons out of your lymph node systems and everything that's right here in your mouth. And it allows the oil essentially binds to it and you spit it out. You want to do it on an empty stomach, and you don't want to swallow the oil, because then you're just taking all the toxins that you've just sucked out of your system here and you're putting it back into your system. So you want to, anything over 10 minutes is great, but you're going to have to build a tolerance. So start at 5 minutes. If you can only do 2 minutes, start at 2 minutes, but the goal is anything over 10. So then I'll do my oil pulling after or during while I'm on the toilet. And from there, then I brush my teeth. Then I scrape my tongue. There's a lot of benefits to scraping your tongue. If you've never scraped your tongue, the first time you do it, you're going to be so grossed out you can't believe that you've never done this before. Literally, even I scrape my tongue twice a day, and you still get a pretty heavy film off of it. And that's something that you want to regularly clear out. Then I get in a hot shower, quick business, rinse, whatever. The goal is just to get hot enough to get comfortable, get your stuff done, and then get in the cold for as long as possible. The goal is about 2 minutes. And that cold exposure in the morning, you want to start on an exhale, then turn it cold on the exhale. So you want to regulate the inhale so you're not hyperventilating in the cold water. Once you can normalize your breath, that should take you about anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes. If you're good, maybe 30 seconds. That's about the maximum time you need just to regulate your breathing and calm everything down. What you're doing is you're overcoming your fight or flight response. And it's kind of like doing something that really difficult that you don't want to do first thing in the morning and get over it and kind of build upon that for your day. Like, oh, I already took a cold shower. Nothing's going to suck as much as that. I can go do this. I can go do that. It's just one of those things that you can build upon and have like exponential growth and productivity throughout your day.
So Pete, you're doing a cold shower, not an ice bath?
Cold shower every morning.
Okay. So you're already in the shower, you get the hot water going, then you just flip it to cold?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you want it as cold as you can possibly handle for as long as you can possibly handle. Now, I know I'm speaking fast, but it's like it's hot on my tongue.
No, give it to us. Give it to
The
us.
average time, the minimum amount of time that you need per week to see benefits from cold exposure is something like 7 minutes. It's ridiculously low. So if you can get to 2 minutes for 3 days, that's already six. And then if you do a couple quick days, maybe take Sunday off from the cold, or some people like to do more cold on Sundays because you're more relaxed. But it's not a lot of time in the cold to see the benefits. And a lot of people will see the benefits in the cold tap water. You don't actually need to get into an ice bath to start seeing the benefits. Of course, the colder, the longer, better, up to about 4 minutes. And then you're just kind of pushing it for the mental aspect. But yeah, there's even a lot of it, literature out there right now that's saying just submerging your face in a bowl of ice water for 30 seconds at a time until you can catch your breath, and then go back down and then catch your breath. Also, you exhibit the benefits of cold exposure from just exposing your face into the bowl, because that's where all of the receptors are that are affected most by it. So I think Dave Asprey just put out a story or a post about how you can hack cold exposure by just doing your face in a bowl of ice water, which is really cool. But it's kind of like, I kind of like getting in the cold to get over it, and you feel better getting out of the cold when you feel the blood like recirculate through. It's like you kind of feel like the Hulk going Hulk mode.
Yeah. I've done cryotherapy several times, so I'm
it's better and worse, because
Yeah.
the cryo is like loose and it's just the cold air rushing. The cold water hugs you.
Yeah,
Like,
I actually
hugs
dude, I've got a similar routine. I do oil pulling every morning. I haven't done the swish and swallow with the salt, but I turn it cold for at least a minute, because it actually helps my follicles open for when I shave. So I'm loving this. No, let's keep going. Keep going. I'm loving this.
So this is all like the first half hour that I'm awake, and you got people like, what the fuck is going on over here? This dude is nuts. Mind you, I'm 36 and I look like I'm in my mid-20s. So there's all the proof in the pudding.
Mm-hmm.
Then from there, I'll go out and I make like 16 ounces with a teaspoon of that healthy, cleanly sourced pink salt, sea salt, whatever you want to call it. And I'll juice a lemon into that. Hit it with a stick blender real quick and put that down with my supplements. Now, I don't drink coffee right when I wake up in the morning, because the amount of energy that you get from the cold shower should carry you clean through the first couple hours of your day. And also because I stack my morning routine with my supplements, I don't want to put coffee or any sort of caffeine behind my supplements, because caffeine, not coffee, but caffeine in general, is a diuretic, and that'll force you to push out whatever you're taking in. So like, you guys have seen the memes, it's like my morning coffee, and it's like a person at the door with a gun chasing everybody out of the room, right? It's the same thing with your supplements. So if you're stacking your supplements with your coffee, you're passing about 75% of that bare minimum, maybe even more, depending on how healthy you are. You know what I mean? So if you're super healthy, yeah, you might your body might take in more vitamins because they're used to it. If you're on the standard American diet and you start putting in supplements, your body's passing most of that anyways, because it doesn't even know how to take it in yet. Right. So it could be higher, is what I'm trying to say. So you do want to keep the caffeine at least a 2-hour window before or after supplements. So I usually do my coffee around 9 in the morning, but I make it during my morning routine before I head out in the day. And so I have my thermoses ready. So at this point, we're running at about 6:50, 7 o'clock. I got to head out the door, go teach that cardio class, which I lead, by example. So that's my first workout of the day, fasted workout. I also subscribe to intermittent fasting and more of an animal-based diet. Get into that as we go. So my first workout, totally fasted. I'll leave there on Monday. I'll head over to Lausanne MMA. So I have that class wraps at like 8:30. I get to Lauzon's by 9. Some Mondays I teach a private one-on-one lesson with a client, and then I roll into an hour of jiu-jitsu and an hour of MMA grappling, which you guys are probably like, that's the same thing. It is and it isn't. The first hour is technique led by Joe Lauzon, and then with some light rolls at the end. And the second one starts out wrestling rounds on our feet, and then we focus more on like cage work, MMA stuff, the differences between your sport jiu-jitsu, where we're grappling with punches. And if I'm in fight camp, so that'll get you to noon without going into too detail about the classes. From 12 to 1, I usually do guided breath work to help my conditioning and my cardio for my fight camp. The guy who helps me, my breath coach, his name is Michael Cristoforo. He is O2 Advantage certified under Patrick McKeon, and also a Wim Hof leader, a Wim Hof practitioner certified, and has worked one-on-one personally, hiked with the one and only Wim Hof. So he takes the Oxygen Advantage, Patrick McKeon approach, and the Wim Hof approach, melds them together, and has a really nice protocol for athletes to help boost that VO2 max, or your ability to work with the presence of CO2 in your system. So it's like, if you guys have seen me fight and you're like, how the fuck does this kid keep his foot on the gas for 15 minutes? This is how. Not only do I have a crazy strength and conditioning coach that makes sure my lungs are bulletproof from an athletic output side, I have a breath coach that makes sure my lungs are bulletproof from a performance side. So what that looks like is, extended breath holds while jogging, extended breath holds while sprinting, and then controlling the recovery breaths is what we call them. So like, imagine, I'll give you a quick protocol. Inhale, exhale, walk. As soon as you start to feel that hunger for air, jog. When you're done, when you jog to the point where you can't jog anymore, you have to control that inhale. Slow inhale, low, slow and deep. And then what's even harder is the controlled exhale while you're trying to gasp for air. So what you're trying to do is control your reaction while your body's screaming for air. And that helps build your tolerance for CO2 on a cellular level. So it's really incredible stuff when you get these two protocols between my strength and conditioning coach and my breath coach together. It's phenomenal. And I feel like I could fight for days, like Captain America. I could do this all day.
Yeah. So
that's only the first half of my day.
I was just gonna say shit.
And then usually from here I'll break, have lunch, chill out for like an hour or two, which is kind of the same break that I'm on here today, just different times. And then I usually need to make my lunch, eat lunch, make my dinner, pack up my bags. I've got like a 50-minute drive to my chiropractor, which you're like, why is it so far away? I live on the South Shore. I train in Somerville, which is right north of the city. So I drive around the city, come back in from the outside, go to my chiropractor, who's in Arlington, and then it's like a 20-minute drive back down to Somerville. So like if Boston's here, right, we'll do it for you here. I live here. I drive all the way around the city to Arlington out here, and then I cut back into Somerville over there. If you could see it topically from a map, it would make sense. But me explaining it to people, it's like, seems like a whole lot of extra driving.
Yeah.
But it works. And yeah. So, and then on Monday nights, I teach at Sit Yat Tong, which is a Muay Thai academy based out of Pattaya, Thailand. But there's, I think, four legitimate Sit Yat Tong primary schools, and then they all have their affiliates from there. But Crew Mark, the owner of Sit Yat Tong Boston, is the face of Sit Yat Tong in America as well. So all the other gyms are technically kind of under him by way of Pattaya, Thailand. So that's pretty cool. So I teach there on Monday nights, and then we do sparring from 10 to 12 rounds, 3-minute rounds of sparring on Monday night. And so I teach from 7. I do the chiropractor at 6. I teach at 7, and we spar at 8. And then I try to get in bed by 10.
Wow.
And then I do the same thing on Tuesday.
That's awesome.
with a little, yeah.
Any cheat meals during the week? Or are you as strict as you can get? Because I know I have friends that maybe they're not super high athletes like yourself, Pete, but I've seen them devour a box of cookies and not gain an ounce of fat. So
yeah, so this is the thing. One salad won't make you skinny. One bag of cookies won't make you fat. Right? Works both ways. So a lot of people talk about the 80-20. If you do the right thing 80% of the time, you can fuck all 20% of the time. And you should remain with the results that you're looking for. Now, every fight camp is different depending on what's going on in my life. Like right now, my soon-to-be fiance is pregnant. So little known fact, like women emit a pheromone while pregnant that encourages men to put on weight, because they need to get ready for sleepless nights once the baby is born. Like not an old wives' tale. This happens. Like my girlfriend, she's a health and hormone coach, like a naturopathic practitioner, right? So she works with women to get off of birth control, teach them how to regulate their, track their cycles, regulate their cycles. Little known fact, like women can only get pregnant 4 days out of their whole cycle. So the whole concept of birth control is kind of bullshit. And it's a way that doctors mask other problems that they don't want to deal with, because historically most doctors are men. Most of the people that did all the developments in this medicine were men, and they never had a woman's perspective. Now that we found out what women's birth control really does, it pretty much shuts the whole body off, the hormone production off, except for the few days that you're on your sugar pill. So you're not even really having a period. Your body's just bleeding because it needs to bleed. But back to, crazy stuff. So that validates the information that I'm going to share with you. When women get pregnant, they release pheromones and hormones that encourage their mates to put on weight to prepare for the sleepless nights. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. But like I said earlier in the interview, I'm fighting this weekend. So it's been crazy to not only have like the desire and need to like eat comfy food, eat comfort food, and like snuggle and be on the couch and, make sure that everybody's happy and healthy to bring this child into this universe. I still have to fight, and I still have to make sure that I'm doing all the things. So my diet's been a little like this fight camp, but normally I'm pretty locked and loaded in. But back to that 80-20 rule, like I'm doing most of the stuff right most of the time. So like I'm really only 2 pounds heavier than I would ideally want to be going into fight week. So it's not even that's not that much. Like I'm not stressing it at all. I know at the end of the day, I know how to make weight. I know how to fight. And that's all I can do when it comes to fighting. So I'm not concerned with it. It's just been interesting to see like how the set and setting has changed. So how like everything is affected by it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll take down a box of cookies here and there. Usually they're like the healthier, gluten-free, like
sure.
Sieta is a brand that is, seed oil free, gluten-free, like a pretty healthy brand. You'll see like the Sieta chips, cookies, like nacho style chips. Like it's just a healthier brand. So we do like to spoil ourselves, but when we cheat with higher quality items. I'm not getting a bag of Nabisco, Chips Ahoy, you know what I mean? I'm getting the good shit with the good ingredients, with the real sugar, with the real chocolate, no high fructose corn syrup, no soy and canola oil in it. Like if I'm going to eat the shit food, it's going to be like the best sourced shit food. And that at least makes me feel better knowing that I'm not eating all that fake crap.
Excellent. I love it. It's 4:36 right now. So, we can go 5 more minutes, or if you want to wrap up, it's all good.
Yeah, we're good. We can do 5. Let's do 5.
Okay, cool. So I say lately, I don't know how lately it's been, but you've had some really great posts, like your green screen posts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of we definitely talked nutrition, but as a fighter, I'm big on my health as well. What we put in our bodies. Down here, the water is terrible in Florida. It's chlorinated.
The water is terrible everywhere in America.
It's true.
Everywhere in America.
So can you get into a little bit about health and medicine? You mentioned your fiance's naturopathy. Congratulations on the baby. I guess from your perspective, a high functioning athlete, a fighter, what are some tips that you want to share as far as our health and development in this current world that we live in, where everything's poison?
Yeah, and like that's the way it is. I mean, I was just watching a story today, or a clip today, about how they changed the wheat back in the 50s. So I was in Spain over the summer. I could eat bread all day long, didn't get sick, didn't have any gut issues. You get home, bread, boom, gut issues out the door. And, they changed our food. They started messing with the food back in the 40s and 50s when the science was still brand new, and they didn't realize the long-term repercussions of what was going to happen. So all of our food has been adulterated, however you want to look at it. Some of the big things that you can do, super, super easy: eliminate seed oils. You don't want a vegetable oil. You don't want soy oil. You don't want sunflower oil. You don't want, if it's not avocado, coconut, or olive oil, you don't want it. Simple. Olive oil is always your safest bet. Just got to make sure it's a premium organic brand, but seed oils are the root of all evil. And then you get into gluten. Are you really gluten insensitive, or do you have an issue with the glyphosate that's all over it? They tried to tell us way back in the day, oh, glyphosate's safe. By the time it gets on by the time the food's processed, it's removed. It's in the parts per million. Well, we've recently found out that that's all bullshit too. So I would say drop the seed oils, drop any sort of white processed refined carbohydrate, white bread, wheat bread, toast, just English muffins, anything. Find something that's made with like a sprouted grain. I think the brand's called Food for Life is a good one. It's like the Ezekiel bread that you find in the freezer section. It's a clear wrapper with colors on it, depending on what variety it is. I like the flax one. So seed oils are a big one. Getting hydrated, you probably need anywhere from 3 to 4 liters. That's like 3/4 to a whole gallon a day. Salt it, put tons of salt, like sea salt or pink salt in your water, and get some citrus in there. Lemon will go a long way. I usually do 2 lemons, a teaspoon of sea salt, and a half a gallon, and I'll do that twice a day. And that's good ballpark for the amount of water that I need on a given day, unless I'm training heavily, and then the water consumption will be higher because I'm sweating more. But to touch on that green stuff too, like I saw a post the other day. It was like waiting for everybody to apologize for me for being a conspiracy theorist, and it said since 2020. It was crossed out to 2012, and I'm like, I resonate with that shit because I was in school. Like I graduated high school in 2005, got to college, got like, good access to the good internet, in between doing research papers, this and that, watching these documentaries. I think it was one of the big ones that got me was the Zeitgeist series or the 9/11 debunking things, just hidden in plain sight's another one, just where you start to realize that there are a lot of dots that could be connected that we're just like brainwashed away from seeing. And now that everything's finally coming out, I mean, I've been telling people that this country and the world is run by like child eating pedophiles for about 15 years now. People are finally starting to believe me. You know what I mean? So like the green screen stuff is more toned down stuff that I use because I've been sharing it forever, but people can just fast forward through my stories. When I put a post up like that with the green screen, people are like, one, I think they enjoy seeing my reactions because it's just kind of funny, but it's also forcing them to digest information that's going to make them a little uncomfortable, like how evil the Rockefeller family really is, and how, I'm starting to watch stuff where like they tell us mercury's poison. Mercury and copper put together in the right way accesses free energy out of the fucking environment. So like, was mercury really as bad as I say it is, or are they just trying to eradicate it so we can't access free energy? There's a lot of stuff coming out now where people are starting to connect these dots that says, a lot of the history that we've been force fed is bullshit. And the history is just a set of lies agreed upon by the controlling elite. So we've seen how easy it is, how easy and how quick it is to like forget. Like the kids nowadays, they're like 9/11. 9/11's a day off from school. Who the fuck cares? When we were little, 9/11, bro, we've never been attacked on U.S. soil outside of Hawaii, right? So now we have these domestic attacks, whether you agree where they were state sponsored or not, or actually terrorists from the Middle East, or a combination of the two. That's another conversation. But like 9/11 was a big fucking deal when it happened. And now we're what, 20 years away from it, and these kids don't even care about it. So you see how easily it is to change a narrative within your own lifetime. Imagine how easy it is to change it from a generation to generation.
Yeah.
So the green screen stuff is just a way for me it's a way to get people to look at inconvenient truths that might make them a little uncomfortable.
I love it. I encourage everyone to go check it out. Pete, this is awesome. Maybe we'll have to do it again, Instagram Live or something when the episode drops. But please let everybody know the best place that they can follow you.
Yeah, jump on me on Instagram. You're going to have to type the whole thing out because Instagram's got me on one of their shadow bans. But it's at @SlipperyPete_145. Slippery Pete, Peter Barrett should find me on any other platform. And then Twitter is @Slippery's World. I took a little head nod from Slane. I saw his Instagram handle way back in the day. It's @Slane's World. I was like, shout out to Slane. George, you're the man. Because I put Slippery's World after that.
No doubt. Awesome. Well, dude, thanks again for coming on. We appreciate everything you shared with us today. And good luck on the fight this weekend. I know this will air afterwards, but best of luck to you. Congratulations on the baby and the fiance.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's it, everybody. If you like this episode, make sure you go down, like, subscribe, and leave a comment for my man Pete. And that's it. We'll be back with another episode soon. I do have my joint here. We end every episode with smoke 'em if you got 'em. So
smoke them if you got them.
Your winner by TKO, Slippery